What if everything you believed about heroes and villains was wrong? In most movies, the story is simple. The hero is righteous, the villain is evil, and by the end, justice is served. But some films go deeper. They blur the lines between right and wrong, forcing us to question not just the characters on screen, but our own fundamental beliefs. Because sometimes, the villain isn't driven by madness, but by cold hard logic. Not by a desire for evil, but by a perspective the hero is too blind to see. And the scariest part? Sometimes, they're actually right. Today, we're counting down 10 cinematic villains who had a point and why audiences and critics are still debating their philosophies to this day. Number 10. Eric Killmonger.
It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder. Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
Killmonger is one of those rare villains whose pain feels entirely authentic. He grew up witnessing systemic injustice, poverty, and suffering, all while knowing that Wakanda, the most technologically advanced nation on Earth, had the power to intervene but chose isolation instead. His philosophy was built on a single provocative idea, that power should be used to liberate the oppressed, regardless of borders. Audiences connected with Killmonger because his anger wasn't some comic book exaggeration. It was a direct reflection of real-world history. Critics praised the character for bringing immense political depth to the MCU, often calling him Marvel's most human and relatable antagonist. He was right because Wakanda's strict isolationism was in fact morally questionable. By the end of the film, King T'Challa actually abandons the old ways and opens Wakanda to the world, effectively proving that Killmonger's core argument was correct. Number 9. Thanos.
We faced extinction, I offered a solution.
Genocide.
But random, dispassionate, fair to rich and poor alike. They called me a madman.
Thanos is terrifying, not because he's a chaotic monster, but because he's calm, patient, and utterly convinced he's the savior of the universe. His logic is rooted in Malthusian theory. He believes the universe is collapsing under the weight of overpopulation and dwindling resources. To him, eliminating half of all life isn't murder. It's a necessary mercy to ensure the survival of the remaining half. What made audiences fascinated by Thanos was his absolute conviction. He didn't want to rule. He wanted to fix a broken system. Critics lauded the performance for giving the Mad Titan a tragic weight, turning a CGI giant into a complex philosophical threat. While his methods are genocidal and horrific, the concept of resource scarcity is a genuine global concern. His philosophy reflects real environmental and logistical anxieties, just taken to a nightmarish extreme. Number 8. Magneto.
I tried your way, Charles. I tried to be like them. But it always ends the same way.
Magneto's worldview is forged in the fires of the Holocaust. As a survivor of a literal genocide, Eric Lenscher has already seen what happens when a dominant group labels a minority as different or dangerous. When he sees humanity beginning to discriminate against mutants, he doesn't wait for peace talks. He prepares for a preemptive strike. Audiences have always sympathized with Magneto because his fear is justified by history. He isn't imagining a threat. He has lived through the worst version of it. Critics frequently compare the Magneto Professor X dynamic to real-world civil rights leaders, highlighting the timeless relevance of his by any means necessary approach. He was right because the threat against mutants was objectively real. While his methods were aggressive, his refusal to let history repeat itself was a rational response to state-sponsored bigotry. Number 7. The Joker.
Come on, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me.
The Joker doesn't care about money, and he doesn't care about power. He wants to prove a point about the human condition. His core belief is that society's civilization is a fragile mask. He argues that when the chips are down and the rules are removed, these civilized people will eat each other. Audiences were mesmerized by Heath Ledger's performance, but they were also disturbed by how often the Joker was proven right throughout the film. Critics labeled this version of the Joker as one of the greatest villains in history, specifically because of the nihilistic weight he brought to the screen. He was right, because he exposed the hypocrisy of Gotham's institutions. His social experiments showed that morality is often a fair-weather luxury, and that even the best among us are only one bad day away from total collapse. Number 6. Ozamandias.
The comedian was right. Humanity's savage nature will inevitably lead to global annihilation. So in order to save this planet, I had to trick it.
Adrian Veidt, also known as Ozamandias, believes that humanity is hardwired for self-destruction. With the doomsday clock ticking toward nuclear annihilation, he makes a calculated utilitarian choice. He commits a localized atrocity to unite the warring nations of Earth against a common enemy. Audiences were left deeply conflicted. Some viewed him as a mass-murdering monster, while others saw him as a tragic savior who did what was necessary to save billions. Critics praised the narrative for refusing to provide an easy moral answer. He was right because, within the logic of the story, his plan actually worked. The threat of nuclear war vanished and global peace was achieved. It forces the audience to ask the ultimate question: is a peaceful world built on a lie better than a truthful world that destroys itself? Number 5. Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul views history as a series of cycles. He believes that when a civilization becomes too decadent, too corrupt, and too far gone, it must be reset for the good of the planet. In his eyes, Gotham City isn't just a place with a crime problem, it's a cancer that needs to be excised to prevent the infection from spreading. Critics appreciated how Ra's provided a dark mirror to Bruce Wayne's mission, challenging the idea that a city as broken as Gotham could ever truly be reformed from within. He was right, because his diagnosis of Gotham was spot on. The city was a cesspool of systemic decay where the law was bought and paid for. His solution was genocidal, but his assessment of the city's terminal corruption was undeniably accurate. Number 4. Roy Baddy. Roy Baddy isn't a villain in the traditional sense. He is a runaway slave. As a replicant, he was engineered for labor and war, then given a built-in expiration date to prevent him from developing true emotions. He isn't trying to take over the world. He is simply a man, or a machine, who wants more life. Audiences felt a profound sense of empathy for Roy, especially during his iconic final monologue. Critics often cite him as the soul of the film, representing the universal human fear of death and the desire for meaning. He was right because his struggle is for the most fundamental right of all, the right to exist. His rebellion was a natural response to being treated as property rather than a sentient being. Number 3. Syndrome.
I'll sell my invention so that everyone can be superheroes. Everyone can be super. And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Syndrome's villain origin story is surprisingly relatable. He was a brilliant, devoted fan who was cruelly rejected by his idol. That rejection fueled a lifelong mission to democratize specialness. His plan was to sell his technology to everyone, so that eventually, when everyone is super, no one will be. Critics praised Pixar for creating a villain who challenged the very concept of destiny and innate superiority. He was right because he challenged the elitist idea that only those born with special genes deserve to be heroes. His desire to level the playing field for the common man was inherently noble, even if his path to get there was paved with murder. Number 2. Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden is the personification of a modern-day counterculture rebellion. He stands against the soul-crushing nature of consumerism, the emptiness of corporate life, and a society that measures human worth by the furniture in their apartment. He wants to tear it all down to find something real. Audiences in the late 90s and early 2000s found his philosophy intoxicatingly dangerous. Critics highlighted the film as a scathing critique of masculinity and identity in a commercialized world. He was right because his critique of modern apathy was incredibly accurate. He correctly identified how disconnected people had become from their own lives, though his Project Mayhem eventually became the very thing he hated, a mindless cult. Number 1. Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent was Gotham's White Knight, the one man who believed the system could actually work. But after the Joker took everything from him, Dent's moral compass didn't just break, it flipped. He embraced the only thing he felt was truly fair in a cruel world: random chance. Audiences were devastated by his fall because it felt so earned and so tragic. Critics praised his character arc as the emotional backbone of the trilogy, representing the death of idealism. He was right because he proved the Joker's ultimate point, that even the most righteous person can be broken. His transformation validated the terrifying idea that justice is often just a matter of luck, and that the unbiased coin toss is the only true fairness left in a corrupt world. Villains like these don't just challenge the heroes, they challenge us. They force us to look in the mirror and question what's right, what's wrong, and whether those lines even exist at all. Because sometimes, the only difference between a hero and a villain isn't what they believe. It's simply how far they're willing to go to prove it. Now, I want to hear from you. Which villain do you think was actually the hero of their own story? Who did we miss? Drop your answers in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the gray areas of cinema, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.